Hey, how's it going, guys? Mr. Boss for the win here, and in today's Red Dead Redemption 2 video, we are going to be solving the mystery of the Strange Man. This is something that you guys have been requesting that I cover for a long time now, so we're finally going to be diving into it in this video today. So if that name rings a bell, well, that's probably because you played the first Red Dead Redemption game, where the Strange Man was ever present and appeared a couple of times throughout that storyline. So before we can start talking about the Strange Man in Red Dead Redemption 2, let's actually take a look at a couple instances of him in the first Red Dead Redemption game, as it once again gives us some background on who this man ultimately is.
John Marston.
Do I know you?
I hope so. I seem to know you.
I'm pretty good at remembering faces.
Are you? Do you remember Hattie McCourt's face?
Who?
She was a girl Dutch Vanderlyn shot in the head on that raid on the ferry a few years back. Same one you got shot on. Pretty girl, until her eye was hanging out by a thread of tendon and her brain was plastered over a wall.
Not really.
Then why would you remember me, friend? You've forgotten far more important people than me.
What's your game, friend?
I don't have a game, John. Listen, sometimes I just wish I'd known more about life. Welcome to Nuevo Paraiso, John.
Where do I know you from?
You're famous, John. You're the man who shot a bunch of banditos as soon as he turned up in this country. You're a man who decided right and wrong, between a man and death. Between a man and his wife.
And who are you?
You know, I admire you, John. I hope my boy turns out just like you.
For your sake, I hope he don't.
You kill people so easily, yet you respect the vows of marriage. That's very curious.
I'll let the appropriate authorities judge my morality, friend.
Yes, you will. And they shall. Hey, there's a beautiful spot.
Sure. What are you doing here?
My accounts. I'm an accountant.
Is that so?
In a way.
What's your name?
You know, it's the darndest thing. I can't remember.
Tell me your damn name and where you know me from.
Well, I know you're from Mexico. I know you're from back out west. I know you from all over.
Tell me your name or I won't be responsible for my actions.
Oh, but you will. You will be responsible. This is a fine spot. See you around, cowboy.
Damn you!
Yes, many have.
Okay, so as you guys saw there, this strange man seems to know a lot about John. He knows about the events of the Blackwater Massacre, what happened on the ferry. He also seems to be immortal or invincible, as you shoot him in the back and he doesn't die. And he also drops like a lot of subtle hints and references to things that will happen going further on in the game. Like, for example, in that last cutscene, he says, "This is a fine spot. I'll see you later, cowboy." That's the same spot John Marston was buried, where his grave was. So that's something to think about right there. So now that you know a little bit of background on the Strange Man, let's take a look at where we find him most frequently in Red Dead Redemption 2. And that is this small cabin just to the north of Saint Denis in the Bayou. And on the surface level, it looks pretty innocent until you go inside. And depending on how far you've completed the game, you should notice that there is a painting in the center of the room. And you can kind of see that it looks similar to what the Strange Man is supposed to look like. We'll actually take a look at what happens if you come back, if you have 100% completion towards the end of this video. So you can see that this is a pretty creepy cabin. There seems to be like candles and skulls. It sort of has like a voodoo vibe going on. There's a couple of things that you can pick up as well, like potent snake oil and more. And there's also a lot of words written sort of on the ceiling and on the walls. And they all seem to be very cryptic. The first is "the water is black with venom." Now, this first line right here, I can only imagine has something to do with black water or maybe it has something to do with the curse in Armadillo. We'll talk about that in a little bit and what that could possibly mean, but that's the first line right there. The water is black with venom. You can also see a lot of the paintings around this area as well. That actually has to do with your honor. So if you have good honor, you'll see paintings of stags, bucks, and eagles, Arthur's spirit animals throughout the game if he has high honor. If you have bad honor, you'll see wolves and coyotes, which again is kind of interesting. You'll also see a poem for Jimmy Brooks. Now, depending on what you did with Jimmy Brooks, if you saved him or kept him alive, your poem will be different. I kept him alive. So the poem was, there was a man called Jimmy Brooks who was always running into crooks till one chased him down and he had to talk his way round. That Jimmy isn't as dumb as he looks. So this very interesting cabin knows our encounter that we had with Arthur in Jimmy Brooks in Valentine at the very beginning of the game. There's also some other various cryptic writing on the wall. It says, from the snow to the cave, which I would imagine indicates the gang's journey from Coulter and the Grizzlies all the way to Beaver Hollow at Chapter 6 at the very end of the game. That's kind of creepy. The writing next to that says, I gave everything for art and I learned too much and nothing at all. I don't understand that one. That one seems a little bit cryptic. Maybe it has something to do with the painting we're going to be taking a look at in a little bit. There's some more writing as well. Obviously, going back to the center of the room, you can see the water is black with venom. There's another one that is, his final toll will sound my greatest coming. To me, that sounds like death. So what do you most associate death with? That would be the Grim Reaper. And the Grim Reaper would only show up if someone is dying, which would be their final toll. Again, we'll talk about this in a little bit. Some more writing says, I know you, which is a reference to the strange man missions in Red Dead Redemption, which were called I Know You. And then the final bit of writing says, the moon will shine on in the darkness. Now, that is kind of interesting. So I actually want to build off of that next. So let's talk about the moon will shine on in the darkness. I think this is a reference to the Armadillo General Store clerk, whose name is Herbert Moon. Now, if you know anything about what's going on right now in Armadillo, you know that there is a massive plague going on. Like, all of the town is dying. However, the one person who seems to be immune to all of this is Herbert Moon. He seems to be totally fine. And what's even more creepy is Herbert Moon actually has a photo of the strange man inside of his general store shop. And John can actually inquire why he has that photo there. Take a listen to this.
Who's that?
I don't know. It's just a little portrait somebody gave me once. I always quite liked it. Why?
No reason. Just seemed familiar. Anyway.
So that's pretty creepy stuff right there. I think that solves that riddle right there, that Herbert Moon is the one person who shines on in the darkness of Armadillo. Again, very, very creepy stuff going on here with the strange man's cabin. Now, if we actually return back to the strange man's cabin, something very interesting that relates to Armadillo is a map of the city, as you guys can see here. And there's some writing that says, I offered you happiness or 2 generations. You made your choice. So I wonder if that's related to Herbert Moon. Did Herbert Moon make a choice that kept him safe, but sacrificed the town of Armadillo? Because he seems to be the only one healthy, whereas the rest of the town is obviously suffering from whatever the plague is going on. So that's kind of interesting right there. Now, if we do some examining around the rest of the cabin, the only other thing that I found interesting was actually on the outside. There's like this underneath part of the cabin where it's sort of caged off, and there's a rotting alligator corpse underneath. I don't know why that's there or the potential significance of something like that being there, but I did find that to be kind of strange. So again, maybe you guys can let us know in the comments down below why something like that might occur. Now, we can also get some more information on the strange man from a random camp encounter that you can actually have in Red Dead Redemption 2. This is actually uploaded by Brogdon Galvin, so big thanks to him. This is an encounter you can have where this random camper will talk about the strange man.
So, not sure you passed through Armadillo at all. Place like hell on earth these days. Used to be quite a nice little town, too. Now it's just dust storms and disease and death. They taking to burning bodies because they can't bury 'em fast enough. I mean, when you see it, it really feels like something biblical. And I ain't a religious man. Really, it's a sight to behold. I certainly ain't never read the Bible on account of me not reading and all, but for a place to turn like that, so bad and so fast, you can't help but thinking, this can't be of natural causes. Folk there are calling it a curse. And I ain't a superstitious man, but it's hard not to see it any other way. They're saying this figure appears sometimes there in the distance. Black suit and big top hat, then disappears. Shadowy, like he ain't of this mortal realm. A Reaper and his Sunday best. Maybe they're being punished for sins or something, I don't know. I got enough sins on my tally to figure I'm gonna stay well away from there. And I ain't a betting man, but I'd put my money on this. Way things are, won't be long before Tumbleweed is the only town left in these parts, and there won't be nothing in Armadillo but ghosts.
So this camper goes into detail describing the town of Armadillo, how the town is cursed. They can't burn bodies fast enough. And then he brings up the strange man, the top hat, the suit. And he says he appears like a reaper in his Sunday best, which would make sense. The town of Armadillo is suffering from plague and death, so it would make sense that the strange man would show up. So that is incredibly bizarre right there. But that's not even the weirdest thing that happens in Red Dead Redemption 2. What happens if you show up to the strange man's cabin with 100% completion? Now, I'm not talking about 100% completion of the story. I'm talking about 100% completion of everything in the compendium and beyond. Well, something very weird occurs. The painting has been completed, which gives us the option to inspect it, but also take a look at the mirror in the left-hand side of the screen. The strange man is there watching us. He's in the room. However, the second we turn around, he's not there. And then after a bit, when you look in the mirror, he actually disappears. Now, you can actually inspect the painting, which is called Painting in the Cabin, and it says, "This place made me feel like I was being watched. Hard to explain, fascinating and awful and seductive all at once." How strange is that? So not only has the photo been completed, but you could also see that the strange man was there watching us. Now, nothing else in the cabin seems to be changed. That looks to be the only thing that has been updated, is that big painting. But you can tell right there that that matches the description of the strange man, and it adds to the mystery of who this person is. So here's my theory on the strange man and what he is. And again, this is just my personal opinion. You guys can let me know what you think in the comments down below as well. I personally think the strange man is supposed to represent death or the Grim Reaper. Because in the couple instances we've seen him, it's all been around bad circumstances. Whether it's visiting John Marston in the first Red Dead Redemption game, where he literally says, "This is a fine spot, John." That happens to be the place where he dies, where he's buried. Or in Red Dead Redemption 2, where he's been seen around the town of Armadillo, which is where there's a disease and a plague going around. And townsfolk describe it as a place that is cursed and where they can't burn or bury bodies fast enough. And he appears to John in Red Dead Redemption 2 once his game is 100% complete. And we, of course, know that Red Dead Redemption takes place after Red Dead Redemption 2. Throughout the entirety of Red Dead Redemption 2, the painting is being built. When you reach 100% completion, the painting is completed and he shows up, even though when you turn around, he's not there. And then in Red Dead Redemption, he finally appears in person and is obviously incredibly cryptic, but still appears in person. So it's almost sort of like a natural progression as we're getting closer to John's death, which I guess this is a spoiler, but Red Dead Redemption came out like 8 or 9 years ago, so by now you should have known this, or at least you figured it out by now, that John Marston does eventually die. Now, a lot of people here, especially in Red Dead Redemption 2, are going to draw comparisons to Josiah Trelawney because they dress very similarly and they are both odd in the way that they disappear for long periods of time, but they are most definitely different characters. Now, there are some strange similarities, don't get me wrong, but the way they talk, their accents, obviously their backgrounds in general. I think Rockstar made Josiah Trelawney look like the strange man on purpose just to add to the mystery, but I can almost guarantee you they are different characters. But as always, I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments down below. Let me know what you think about the strange man mystery. Do you think my theory has officially solved this mystery in Red Dead Redemption 2? As always, I'd love to hear from you guys down there. Get involved and let me know what you think. If you did go on to enjoy this video, though, a like rating would, of course, be awesome. And subscribe to my YouTube channel if you are new or you like daily Red Dead Redemption 2 videos like this. With all the way, guys, like I said, thanks so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you guys in the next video.